This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen Gipp, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
Have you ever driven past a huge solar farm and wondered if there's a better way to use all that space? While they're great for producing additional energy, some people see them as an eyesore and aren't too thrilled about having them in their backyard. Others say they're taking up valuable farmland. But what if solar farms could do more than just generate power? Imagine if the land beneath the panels was used for grazing animals, growing shade-friendly crops, or creating habitats for pollinators. Could that make them more practical and maybe even more accepted?
It's a concept called agrivoltaics, also known as agri-solar or dual-use solar farming. The idea is simple. Install solar panels in a way that still allows for farming, whether it's growing crops or grazing livestock right underneath them. That's not currently possible with most solar farms. The problem is traditional solar panels are usually installed low to the ground in tightly packed rows, leaving little room for farming or grazing animals. The panels create a lot of shade, which make it tough for most crops to grow, and there's not enough space for large equipment to get through. Plus, the way they are arranged can limit airflow and water distribution, making the land beneath them less usable. But if these solar panels were raised higher off the ground and spaced out a bit more, it's a whole new ballgame.
How does it work? The solar panels are mounted on a truss system above the crops so that sunlight can reach them. By providing shade, lessening heat stress, and cutting down on water loss, a favorable microclimate is created for the plants. In addition, by blocking out some of the sun, the solar panels can boost the quality of leafy greens like lettuce and spinach. The amount of sunshine needed by different crops at different stages of development is taken into account, while determining the optimal panel height in agrivoltaics. This prevents the crops from getting too much shade and guarantees adequate light. Agrivoltaic systems can use sensors to track local weather conditions in order to optimize panel placement.
In Japan, there's a project called AgriSolar, where solar power is being combined with growing vegetables like tomatoes and peppers. The solar panels are raised higher off the ground, which lets the crops grow underneath. And the shade helps keep the plants cooler and reduces water evaporation. It also helps with water conservation since the shade slows down how quickly the soil dries out. In India, farmers are growing spices and legumes under elevated solar panels, and it's giving those plants a much better environment to thrive. Plus, the solar energy they generate is being used locally, which is a big win for rural communities. Raising solar panels higher off the ground, spreading them out in agrivoltaics does more than just give crops room to grow. It also helps create space for livestock, like sheep. When the panels are elevated, there's plenty of space underneath for animals to roam, and they can graze on the grass that grows there. Plus, the shade from the panels helps keep them cool during the hot weather. It's also a nice way to manage the land without needing a bunch of machinery. Instead of mowing, livestock can naturally keep the grass in check, helping reduce the need for maintenance. The people who do this are often called solar shepherds. It's a concept gaining quite a bit of traction in Canada. Jenna and Ryan Greer have a ranch an hour outside of Calgary where they raise sheep that graze on solar farms.
This is our second year into a 3-year contract on the solar site currently. We have 400 ewes out on grass right now.
With lambs, yeah.
With lambs, and so we're looking to have 600 ewes coming into next year.
The interesting part about solar that we've noticed in the last couple of years is the grass definitely grows in a different way. It grows higher, it grows thicker, seems to retain a lot more moisture, I think just because it gets more shade under the panels.
So one of the benefits of solar is they're literally on
Just
less grass.
Lots of shelter, fresh grass. And so, I mean, to grow a nice leash, you need really good nutrition. And so that's what the goal is out there, is to feed them really well, have them come grow a really nice fleece, and then they're shorn in the spring.
You know, when you have sheep grazing on land for year after year, you create incredible biodiversity, butterflies and bees, habitat for other animals. What's amazing about that project is that they're maintaining a property that's generating energy, and then they're maintaining it in a way that's sustainable, that is not using machines to have to cut that grass. So it's really kind of the best of both worlds.
So this is the Joffrey Solar project. It's about 48 megawatts. I think I was approached in about 2000 by some developers. If I was interested in having a solar farm on my land, of course, whenever you're approached by something and it's a change, you always say no. They said, we can continue it in farming and agriculture and also have the solar, and you can utilize any land that we don't use within the park as well as on the outside for agriculture as well. And of course, there was a financial benefit too as well. The solar developer or construction company was really great to work with. The guys at points that let me bring my cattle in and graze some of the areas. We were also able to hay some of the site when they hadn't quite progressed to it. And I was also blown away by the number of workers. I think they were up to 200 workers at one point on site. Tremendous benefit to Central Alberta. And certainly down the road, with succession planning with my family, I hope that my daughter will farm, or if she doesn't, chooses a career in agriculture, and she'll have the benefit of being able to stay in agriculture with the revenue from the solar park.
It sounds cool, but is this concept really working? Not just for the plants and animals, but for the people who run these businesses? Does the math really make sense? Well, more research needs to be done, but a 2022 test pilot of an agrivoltaic system in Kenya showed promising results. By installing solar panels high enough to allow cabbage to grow underneath, the plants benefited from the shade that reduced heat stress and water evaporation. The result? Cabbages grew 24% larger and required 47% less water for irrigation. It's all about getting the most out of your land by using it for multiple purposes. Some case studies show that combining farming with solar energy can boost revenue by 30 to 50% per acre. For smaller farms, this could be a game changer, helping them create a more resilient and sustainable business model for the future. Take farmer Sean Morton, for example. He was initially hesitant about working with a solar company, but after striking a deal, he's now bringing in extra income, ensuring his farm stays strong for years to come.
Agrivoltaics is a promising concept, but it comes with its share of challenges. The initial costs and finding the right balance for both energy production and crop growth can be tricky, not to mention navigating complex regulations. Plus, there is a learning curve since different crops react differently to the shade from the panels. And on top of all that, recycling solar panels is still a work in progress. Many end up in landfills, risking the release of toxins like lead and cadmium. So, it's an exciting idea, but there's definitely more work to be done.
To enjoy fruits, vegetables, and other foods all year round, you can try a preserving method called rebel canning. UNN Field Messenger Teresa shows us how it works.
Hello, I'm Teresa, UNN Field Messenger from Scotland. Fall to me has always been the canning season. With the rise of food prices and food security, this is something that most people are concerned about. In this report, I will be showing you some rebel canning, also known as Amish canning. This process is not recognized by the CDC. With this process, any jar can be used as long as the lid isn't rusted and the rubber seal is still intact, because the jars are not under pressure, so you do not need to buy expensive ball mason jars. So my sauce is ready, and my jars have been sterilized in a preheated oven. I'm just going to put my hot sauce into the jars and leave a 1-inch headspace. Now with my pasta sauce filled, I've already prepared my jars with my dried beans in it. These jars are not pint jars, they're smaller, so I put 1/3 of a cup of dried beans to a half a teaspoon of sea salt. You always use either sea salt or Himalayan salt. Now that I've got all of my jars filled, I am just going to lightly wipe the rims of each jar with a piece of paper towel and it has white vinegar on it. And when you put your lids on, you stick them on and you use your ring and you only tighten them finger tight, because any tighter than that and they won't allow for expansion. Now with my jars filled, I'm just going to go ahead and slide my canning basket down inside there. A full rolling boil. It is not necessary to buy expensive equipment. Any pot will work as long as you can fully cover the jars with water. After the canning process, remove the hot jars and place on a kitchen towel. Then tighten the lids, cover, and leave to cool overnight. When storing your jars, always remove the bands, and if the jar loses its seal, do not eat it. It should always make a popping or hissing sound when you open it, just like a store-bought jar. Thanks for watching.
Did you know beer, a party favorite, leaves behind more than just empty bottles? Breweries produce millions of tons of waste every year. Most of it comes from leftover grains called brewer's spent grain. But what happens to all of that grain? Is it simply thrown away, or can it be repurposed into something useful?
To give you an idea of the scale, brewing 100 liters of beer produces 20 kilograms or 44 pounds of wet spent grain, according to Eurostat. Globally, this adds up to a massive 37 million tons of spent grain every year. And with beer consumption continuing to rise, this number is only going to grow. So where does all of this waste go? The European Commission estimates about 70% of spent grain is repurposed as cattle feed, while 10% is used for biogas. Still, 20% ends up in landfills. Once there, decomposition releases greenhouse gases and other toxic substances, harming soil, water, and wildlife. Brewer's spent grain is rich in valuable nutrients, such as protein and fiber, and accounts for about 85% of the waste produced during beer brewing, according to the European Commission database. Rather than letting this byproduct end up in landfills and contribute to environmental harm, it can be repurposed in sustainable ways to maximize its potential and minimize its impact.
As a fairly new farmer, we're always trying to figure out ways to make an organic farm work. And one of the ways that we have found to do that is using spent grain from our brewery as a food source for our animals. This is an excellent way to get high protein, delicious food for your animals at zero cost. It's becoming pretty standard practice to have breweries use their grain to go to farms and use it as a feed product instead of having it be waste. And as we know, food going into the landfill is one of the most detrimental things to our environment. We really, really want to help these small breweries that maybe don't have farms to send it to, that are putting it into the landfill, to find a way to your farm. And if you don't know what spent grain is, what it is the grain that we make beer out of. We boil it in the mash, and all the sugars go into the beer to make alcohol. But what's left is the fiber and the protein, which is actually awesome for the animals. If you can find a small brewery and help them divert that waste, you're doing something great for the environment and something great for your pocketbook, because it does save so much money.
Beyond being widely used in animal feed, recent studies have shown spent grains can also be used in other sustainable ways. Many companies are now using it to make all kinds of products: vegan barley milk, leather, baked goods, crisps, and even coffee. It could also find its way into construction materials, cosmetics, and paper. While these products show a lot of promise, they're still in the early stages. These methods are still energy intensive, and ongoing research aims to develop cheaper, more sustainable approaches to processing the grain. Beer brewing doesn't just produce spent grains. It also generates surplus yeast, known as spent brewer's yeast or residual yeast. This byproduct, left over after the fermentation process, is no longer usable for brewing. Globally, beer production creates around 10,000 tons of spent yeast every day, with up to 90% being repurposed as animal feed, according to Anuga Food Tech, a leading food and beverage trade fair. Despite often being overlooked, spent yeast is incredibly nutritious, packed with high-quality protein and dietary fiber. In the food industry, it's commonly used as a flavor enhancer or nutritional supplement, and its potential for use in functional foods is vast. Recently, researchers at MIT and Georgia Tech have found a creative way to repurpose this underutilized byproduct.
Did you know that yeast from beer can be used to clean lead-contaminated water? Researchers at MIT and Georgia Tech have discovered that surplus yeast from beer breweries can be repurposed to absorb lead from contaminated water. Through a process called biosorption, yeast can quickly absorb even trace amounts of lead and other heavy metals. Encapsulated in hydrogel capsules, this yeast can effectively filter water, removing lead and leaving it safe to drink. Just one brewery's discarded yeast could potentially treat an entire city's water supply, offering a low-cost, eco-friendly solution to water contamination.
If you're interested in getting repurposed beer spent grain or surplus yeast, there are a few simple steps you can take. Start by reaching out to local breweries to inquire if they offer these byproducts for sale or give them away. Many breweries are willing to provide spent grain at little to no cost, especially if it helps them reduce waste. Some may even sell it in bulk or partner with farms and businesses to distribute it more efficiently. You can also check online with different platforms and marketplaces that connect buyers with breweries or other sellers of brewing byproducts.
Step into a world of possibilities with New Earth, a groundbreaking series that shines light on holistic ways to live, work, and thrive. Join us weekly to discover new innovative ideas and explore the world around us as we, together, create our future, our New Earth.
Cold-pressed juicing can bring significant health benefits. UNN Field Messenger Jemima interviews David about how juicing dramatically improved his health issue.
Hi, this is Jemima and David, reporting for UNN Field Messages from Melbourne.
Right, now on this video I look short, but I'm not really. It's just bad seating. You know, I've got a height problem.
Well, alright, can we press on?
Yes, let's press on.
Press on?
Press on.
Alright, so David is explaining cold press juicing and how he got into cold press juicing. You were saying that you had some health issues, David?
Yeah, I had a fatty liver and I was pretty disturbed. And I thought, well, I met a guy who was Polish and he actually knew what he was doing. And he explained to me cold press juicing on an empty stomach first thing in the morning with as much green as possible. But I actually took it a step further and I added ginger, turmeric, purple carrots, spinach. And what I found interesting, 2 points. I had an ultrasound after a couple of months and I said to the guy...
A couple of months of cold press juicing?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. What were you juicing at the time? You were juicing all those three,
yes,
the four things,
mainly
the 4 ingredients.
Greens, as much green as possible.
But
first.
cold pressed?
Cold pressed.
Okay.
We're about to begin the operation. The patient is ready. You ready?
Ready.
Now I'm going to turn it off. There's going to be a bit of a noise, but it's just a vibration. And see, because I've cut it up in cubes or in small bits, it's so much easier to juice.
All that goodness coming out. So you've got the pulp coming out the front.
Now, I'm about to pour Jemima a juice.
So it doesn't have any pulp at all in it.
Glass. Now, here's the exciting bit. I'm now pouring.
Oh, look at that. Looks amazing.
This is fresh juice.
Would you drink a whole one of these a day?
I drink I drink every second day. I have one of these.
Looks like it requires a bit of elbow grease.
Yes, it's good. It's actually like going to a gym, but you save on the membership.
What put you onto the celery juicing in particular, David?
Oh, yeah, I had prostate pain, and it was horrible, and people laughed at me, but I was sort of used to it, you know, not the pain, but the laughter. And then I tried celery juice about a year ago, and the pain went, and I thought, wow, this is fantastic. But initially I thought it could be psychosomatic, because you never know. But I haven't had any pain for a year, as long as I drink my celery juice. We go through the process again. Where's the glass? Oh, here it is.
3 to go.
So here we go. This is my juice. Wow. And I swill it around in my mouth for 30 or 60 seconds.
How soon should you drink your juice after making it, David?
As soon as you can. My record for doing juice is after 3 minutes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Chin chin.
I just noticed you're rinsing it through your mouth, David. Why were you doing that?
Well, let me just say at this stage, I'm very impressed with your perception. But also, I read in a book by a guy called, I think it was Anthony Williams, that if you rinse it for about 30 to 60 seconds, it's brilliant for oral health, and then you swallow it. Thank you for watching and being a captive audience.
Have you ever wondered how cranberries are harvested? UNN Field Messenger Joanne takes us to Carver, Massachusetts, to explain the amazing process.
Hi there. Welcome to Cranberry Country. It's Joanne from Carver, Massachusetts, Field Messenger reporter for United Network News. And I'm here today to show you the cranberry harvest, how they harvest the cranberries. They're just getting started, churning them up over there, and they just gathered them over here, and we're just waiting for the truck to come so they can put them all in the truck. And I thought I'd show you a little update on how cranberries get harvested. So there's two different kinds of pick. There's a wet pick and a dry pick. And today you're seeing the wet pick. And that all depends on the type of berry as well. And in the wet pick, they go out onto the bog with a machine and they churn up all the berries off the vines, as you can see in this quick video here. And then they flood the bog completely so they all float to the surface. And then they gather the berries in one area. And there's a vacuum that goes underneath the water there. And then they get vacuumed up and put into the truck. The debris gets separated from the berries. And then they get sent to a processing facility here in town. It's a pretty big business here in Carver and the surrounding neighboring towns. Cranberries were originated here quite a long time ago and definitely migrated to other parts of the country and the world. But here, it's just a fabulous, fabulous scene to watch them grow, to watch the landscape change. And the great things about cranberries, too, is they're just so healthy and so beneficial. It has so many good health properties as well. And they're delicious. So many great recipes you can make with cranberries. Already getting ready for your holiday table for sure. One of my favorites, besides obviously cranberry bread and cranberry sauce, but I'll take the fresh berries, and I will coat them in chocolate. And then just put them in the fridge, let them harden a little bit, and pop them in your mouth. They're so good. They just pop and burst with flavor. They're fabulous. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how the cranberries are harvested. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Battery life is one of the most common frustrations for smartphone users today. Whether it's scrambling for a charger or watching your phone die at the worst possible moment, keeping your device powered feels like a never-ending battle. Sure, we've got more apps and notifications than ever, but it's frustrating when batteries don't seem to keep up. It makes you wonder why it's happening and whether there's anything you can do about it.
Back in the day, smartphones had replaceable batteries. If your battery died, you just pop off the back, swap it out for a fresh one, and keep going. No chargers or outlets needed. But as technology advanced, phones became slimmer and more water resistant, and manufacturers started sealing in the batteries. This made phones sleeker and better protected, but it also meant no more quick battery swaps. Instead, we've become used to carrying chargers everywhere, especially as our phone batteries wear out over time. Ironically, while sealed batteries were supposed to make phones last longer, most people end up replacing their phones every few years when the battery starts to fail. It's a trade-off between design and convenience, one we've all learned to live with. But it does make you wonder if the shift to non-replaceable batteries is purely about design or if there's more to the story.
Why are all phone companies switching to non-removable batteries? Ever wondered why your phone looks so slim and polished? Non-removable batteries enable manufacturers to create thinner designs with no extra compartments. This shift enhances portability and visual appeal, making phones as sleek as cutting-edge tech demands. But does style come at the cost of consumer practicality? Non-removable batteries allow better sealing, improving protection against water and dust damage. This design supports IP ratings, crucial for modern smartphones. Though durable, has locking us out of repairs made phones more fragile in other ways? Let's weigh the trade-offs tech companies make. Sealed batteries limit DIY repairs, encouraging users to rely on official service centers, increasing company profits. Additionally, built-in batteries prevent tampering and enhance device security. But is this a genuine safety measure, or are companies prioritizing their revenue over consumer control? With batteries becoming harder to replace, is electronic waste increasing? Many worry non-removable designs contribute to a replace, not repair culture, creating sustainability challenges. Could accessible battery swaps make smartphones eco-friendlier, or is innovation steering us toward a more wasteful path? Do non-removable batteries symbolize progress, or are they a tech industry compromise?
Most smartphones today use lithium-ion batteries because they're lightweight and store a lot of energy. These batteries are popular for their long life, high energy density, and no memory effect. However, they can only be charged a certain number of times before they wear out. Once they stop holding a charge, devices become unusable since the batteries can't be replaced. Experts say lithium-ion technology is reaching its limit, and manufacturers often prefer you upgrade your device rather than replace the battery. This constant upgrading contributes to a growing pile of electronic waste. However, Europe is already taking steps to bring back replaceable batteries, which might just help tackle this problem and make our devices a bit more sustainable.
Soon, all phones might need to have replaceable batteries, at least if you're in Europe. The EU has approved a law that mandates that all phones, along with tablets, have an easily removable and replaceable battery. This is bad news for phone manufacturers, as it will increase manufacturing complexity and give consumers less of an incentive to buy a new phone. The EU has that power though. They already arguably forced Apple to switch from Lightning to USB-C. And even if you're outside the EU, it may just be easier for major phone manufacturers to make the switch worldwide rather than make different phones for different markets. But keep in mind the law doesn't take effect until 2027, and there's no guarantee that deadline won't be extended. So you probably won't be opening the back of your phone for a few more years, unless you have some destructive tendencies.
Replaceable batteries may still be a few years away, but is there anything you can do today to extend your phone battery's lifespan? Taking care of your phone's battery is key to keeping it running smoothly and lasting longer. Poor charging habits can cause problems like slow performance, unexpected shutdowns, or even overheating. To avoid this, stick to the basics. Use the right charger. Keep your battery in an optimal range and steer clear of extreme temperatures. These small tweaks can make a big difference in battery health and overall performance. Check out this video with more tips to help your phone's battery last longer.
What is the best way to charge your phone so you don't damage or degrade your battery? That is a really good question, and one that I have the answer to. A battery is going to degrade over time. That's just inevitable. But the way that you're charging it right now could be deteriorating it much faster. So you're gonna have to replace it sooner than later. My name is J.I., and this is your Daily Tech Digest. First thing you need to do, stop using wireless chargers, especially no-name brands. They generate a lot of heat, and heat is the #1 reason why your lithium-ion battery degrades over time. If you're plugging it in using a cable, avoid using fast chargers unless you really need it. Those can also deteriorate your battery much faster. If you have an iPhone, one setting I would highly recommend enabling is optimized battery charging. It will reduce the aging of your battery by only charging it past 80%, based on your daily routine. That's your Daily Tech Digest.
Scientists are working on exciting new battery technologies, such as lithium metal batteries, which can store twice as much energy and weigh half as much as conventional lithium-ion batteries. While we wait for these innovations, taking care of your phone's battery can save you time, money, and frustration. With just a little effort, you can keep your phone running smoothly for longer. At UNN, you are the news. Get involved by joining our weekly Field Messenger meetings. Visit unitednetwork.earth to learn more. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me.